Putting the questions to Rio today will be Nicki Shields. Over to you guys.
Thank you. Long walk. I think you get the big seat.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Hello everyone, how are you doing? Having a good day so far? Yeah? Excellent.
Sounds like it.
Yeah? Come on, we're going to get you livened up this afternoon. Yeah, welcome again at Rio Ferdinand. Amazing to be sharing the stage with really one of the most celebrated football players in the world. But we're not really talking about football today. Which, sorry for any of you sports fans.
Because my team's been shit, so I can't speak about them.
No, exactly. So we'll move on swiftly. But I mean, you're retired. Well, you've been retired for almost a year. Entrepreneur, TV pundit. So you're pretty busy, aren't you? How is retirement going?
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, like you say, it's busy. 3 kids and various different kind of business interests and jobs. So, but that's the way I like it. I like to keep busy. Always been interested in everything outside of football, and I wanted to kind of create an opportunity, or I wanted to create avenues for when I retired, or when that day came, to be able to go into. And fortunately enough, with the team I had behind me and the planning that we had, there was definitely opportunities and different roads to go down when I retired. So here we are.
Here we are indeed. And you know, we're talking about millennials, and that it's all about being tech savvy and digital savvy, and social media is obviously a key thing. Now, when you were kind of literally at the height of your career in football, it was when Facebook and Twitter were very first coming onto the scene. They didn't even exist when you first started playing. How did you find that transition of suddenly having to use these platforms, having never had any experience before, but actually, if used correctly, can be a huge benefit to you?
Yeah, mine was, I'd seen it, and I saw a lot of it. I saw it over in America. And a different number of sports stars were using it there. And then I got injured at the World Cup when I was going to be captain for England. And I came back and I went to Morocco with my family, and I was sitting there, I was thinking, as captain, you still need to have some type of involvement. So let me go on social media. Everyone's on social media, people are starting to get on there. Let me have a little look, have a play, and show people that I'm still watching and still a part of it, and being a fan like the normal guy who's a fan back home, but I'm still watching the team as well. So I've done that, and got some real good feedback, but also it was a tool. As a sportsman, you've got a guy in an office who's got an opinion about you, as one as a footballer, and one, he starts creating a persona for you that you have no input in. And I just kept seeing the persona portrayed about myself that I didn't agree with, and me and my friends and people who knew me knew that wasn't that person. So the only way to kind of combat that was through social media. If something came out or someone spoke, I was able to kind of shut it down or give that my own point of view on that subject. So that was the main tool I used it for at the beginning, and then everything else kind of stemmed off that. I started seeing new opportunities, new ways of using it, and even in the change room, you had a lot of the guys saying, "What are you doing on this Twitter thing?" They couldn't even say it, to be honest. I can't say the word they used to use, but they used to say, "What are you doing? Why would you even go on that?" And it was, I tried to explain sometimes, but they kind of short-sighted and didn't see it, and now we see all of them are on it. They can't get enough of it.
And were there any kind of, you know, and still are, I suppose, the sort of big do's and don'ts? It was obviously a bit of a learning curve as well at the beginning, because you want to give across your personality, you want to say what you think,
yeah, sometimes
but at the
you give
same
a bit
time,
too much.
it might get you into a bit of trouble.
Yeah, well, I've been in trouble a few times, but it's a learning curve. You've got these new platforms that you're going to go on. It's not going to be all plain sailing. I think it's taken a lot of time for the players to understand that, but also the clubs. The football clubs were probably a little bit behind the players, and they've had to now just build teams to look after social media, because there's so much negativity that can come off the back of it, as well as positivity, and there's a lot of goods and gains that does come off social media, but with one tweet, with one mishap, with one drink too many, it can all fall down.
Do you think that's fair, you know, that you can get into a lot of trouble just for saying what you really think, and you know, it's just that other people don't agree?
Yeah, sometimes, but you have to understand that as an athlete, you have a responsibility, a social responsibility to the next generation, the people that are watching, people that are listening, that are hanging on your every word. You've got to have a responsibility for that. It took me a long time to understand that, as a kid especially, that, oh, all my mates are doing X, Y, and Z, why can't I? And I used to take my dad to have to beat down on me and say, listen, you're not every 18, 19, 20-year-old. Do you know what I mean? There's millions of people that watch or fans that hang on every word or every action that you do, so you've got to be responsible. And I think Twitter, I think social media, all of that, I think clubs now have built teams for that, but I still think there's a long, long way to go in terms of showing the next generation of athletes how to use it efficiently and most benefiting for them, but also for the club as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting, efficiency, because I think the problem is now that there are so many different platforms that sports players are expected to be on, and yet at the same time, you're also expected to perform on the pitch. You know, you really should be focused on that. And if particularly, you know, if you don't necessarily have a team of people behind you that can manage it for you. I mean, was it hard for you psychologically thinking, oh, right, okay, I've got to remember to tweet and do all of this and but at the same time focus on the game, or did it not affect you?
It was simple for me in the fact that I didn't tweet if we got beat. So I'm a bad loser, so there was no, if we lost, I shut down. A simple
formula that worked.
I was shut down straight away. But
was it ever a distraction?
No, my problem with the younger kids now is that you see a lot of younger athletes that want to start, I don't know, a clothing range or they want to go on social media and be really active and do this, but they've not really got their core business, which is sport, in order. They don't know what they need to do from Monday to Friday to get them ready for the game on Saturday, training-wise, how they recuperate, how they rest, how they get ready for a game, their mental state they've got to be in the night before a game, how they are when they're playing a game, the concentration levels that you need to get out and play consistently well for a good period of time and to win things or to be successful in the area, the level that you're at. Before they've managed to conquer that and to get a grasp of how they do that, these guys are doing all these other things off the pitch, which me, if I was a manager of a player, I'd shut that down straight away. I'd say that you're not doing any of that. You can be on Twitter and social media, etc., a little bit, and really monitor it. Until they understand how to actually get the best out of themselves as an individual in a team environment, or whether it be a team or individual sport, that's when I would open them up to being able to go out and explore and do other things. I mean, I've always been interested in doing other things. As a kid, I'd done ballet and gymnastics and stuff, which people might have laughed at when I was a kid, but I was always into exploring other things and never wanted to be kind of boxed or pigeonholed in one area. But I always had it in my mind, I'm disciplined enough to think that before I start, my dad's a tailor, so I was always involved in clothes at the factory, etc. So I always loved clothes. I wanted to dress up in my dad's clothes and stuff like that. And I always had an idea I wanted to do something to do with fashion. But until I got my sport in order and I was winning and I could walk out and comfortably go, yes, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. Because once you do go out into that open world outside of the football industry, people will then start, well, hold on, why are you doing that? So Alex Ferguson would have come to me and said, what are you doing with all this fashion malarkey? What are you doing with these magazines? What are you doing with the restaurant, etc.? But I felt comfortable enough to say to him, hold on, we're winning, boss. I'm playing well, by the way, as well. So
you better remind him of that.
I feel comfortable to be able to go out and do this. That was where I got to, but that's what frustrates me when I see some of the younger guys doing X, Y, and Z, and they can't even get out and play as on a consistent basis.
So a real reminder of priorities, that social media should come second, but it seems to be the thing that everyone's always talking about.
It's important. Don't get me wrong, it is important, because I think I looked at it as a fan. What would I want as a fan from an athlete that I followed, or a superstar, or whatever it is you call it, I followed? I wanted information, I wanted an insight into their life. And it's good to give them that, but I think it's got to be helped and managed by the team that's around that player.
So it's all about really supporting them as much as possible.
Yeah.
Now, while you were still playing football, 2009, you really started to push your entrepreneurial side of things and set up Number 5, which is an online digital magazine and also a fashion brand. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what Number 5 is, and I suppose why did you decide to create a magazine that was going to be just digital?
Well, me and my team, Rio, who look after me, we were just discussing loads of different options of what we were going to do for when I retired. And then one of the guys came up with a magazine, a physical magazine, and I was like, who the hell's going to buy a magazine from me? I'll just about go out and buy the magazines that are out, but for me, I don't know who's going to buy that. And we was like, well, we could see there was obviously digital platforms are coming out here and there, and there was a few different magazines out there, and I thought, let's do a magazine that's free. I can give it, people are going to take it if it's free, and at least have a look. If it looks good and it's smooth and slick, then you've got a chance. So we went that way, and we made it a lifestyle magazine with lots of sport, fashion, film, gaming, and various other things. And we kind of, at the same time, thought, what about selling some type of fashion product? And I was like, at the beginning, going, oh, we'll do a jacket, we'll do a shirt, we'll do a pair of jeans, etc. I'll be a bit of shoes or trainers, and getting a bit carried away.
You just wanted to walk down the catwalk, didn't you?
And then after thinking, I thought, again, who's going to buy that without really having any knowledge of how I've got into the fashion industry? Whereas a cap, you haven't got to try it on. There's no sizing, because it's got the stuff at the back, so you can just alter the sizing. It's quite an easy sell. Well, not easy sell, but it's an easy push-up. So we've done that, and we got traction, and then we was able to kind of look at the demographics, and you see who and when they're buying, and where they're from and stuff. So there was the ability to get so much information of dwell times in the magazines, where they were enjoying the magazine, where people spent most time. And because it's digital, we could allow ourselves not only to do text, but also video. And the video part of our magazine is the best part of our magazine for me, because it brings people in, it makes it real life. And for instance, like the Players Lounge, which is where most of our people who want to get into the magazine go and sit, and then where's the biggest dwell times is the Players Lounge, where the skills, and Cristiano Ronaldo does loads of skills when he was at United, and with a few of the other freestyler guys, and you're getting 20-30 million views on a video. So wow. You get a good idea as to what works, and then you just kind of push the buttons in certain areas and keep them going.
So how, when it all sort of started, because I'm sure there are quite a few people in this room that are part of a startup, particularly a digital startup themselves, and there is a bit of an unknown, it is a little bit of trial and error, but I suppose, have you got any advice, casting memory back to that first year of when you were deciding what to do and how to make money? What did you kind of learn along the way, and have you got any lessons learned?
Yeah, well, the first
any mistakes?
Yeah, well, the first question was, how are we going to make money? That was my first question, and it was just through advertising. And obviously, because it was a fairly new area, we kind of felt that, obviously, well, we found out that the advertising companies were a little bit skeptical. They didn't know too much. It was early days in that area, and to go out and get the advertising money in at the beginning was quite difficult. But we believed in it. We believed it would go that way, and we believed that the digital side would grow very, very quickly. So again, the data was key. Amassing all the data, all the video content, etc., the demographic of the people that were consuming the magazine was vital to us in being able to go out then to the advertisers and say, listen, this is where they sit. If you want to come on, for instance, again, back to the Players Lounge area, which is the best part of our magazine in terms of dwell time, that's a bigger price there than it is to go in X in the magazine. So with all the data that we had, it was a big driver in terms of being able to make money on the magazine.
And another thing that's been discussed quite a bit on the last couple of days is not only growing and reaching out to more fans, but really very much, how do you retain them? How do you keep them coming back? What's your secret to getting them to come back?
I don't know if it's a secret. It's just, again, it's looking at what you're doing, and I think you've got to do your research in terms of talking to the consumer. What do you like? Do you know what I mean? Putting different things out and seeing the actual, what's sticky, what do you see that people are coming back to on a regular basis and staying there for long periods, analysing that data, and really then when you get it and you see it works, kind of running with it a bit, and not getting too kind of emotionally caught up with certain parts of the magazine. There's other parts of the magazine that I really loved at the beginning and was kind of almost kind of holding like that, but when we were looking at the data, they wasn't getting any people going on and staying on them pages. So we had to kind of move on and move them along and move them away. And as I said, if you get too emotionally involved in your product, I think that can become a bit of a problem.
So has the actual product itself of the No. 5 mag and also the clothing brand, has that changed quite a lot from what the first ideas were when it started?
Yeah, definitely. I think.
So is it important to keep it evolving all the time?
Yeah, you have to evolve, because we're in such a quick turnover in terms of concepts, in terms of platforms, in terms of new media that's coming out, that you've got to be able to keep up. And you're looking at Twitter, then you get Instagram with pictures, and then video now is becoming such a big pusher, and especially on my magazine, video is the best form of bringing people and dragging them here. So you've just got to keep up with that, and it's the same with the new industry I'm involved in now with media, with punditry. You're looking for that next, what's that next X factor? What's that next thing that's going to get people to come to the station and stay? Other than just what we're speaking about, other than that's the big driver, are we speaking facts, and are we telling people in layman terms and laying it down very simply for the viewer at home? But also, are there tools that are going to enable us to get there quicker and more efficiently? So I think we've always got to be thinking ahead and thinking of moving. I think we look at Twitter the other day, $1 million a game streaming for an NFL game. I mean, like 4 years ago, who would have thought that Twitter would have been doing that?
And Facebook Live as well, what do you think of that?
Yeah, Facebook Live, I mean, it's exciting, and I think more and more of these digital companies are going to be coming into that space, and so I don't think we're going to be surprised when you see more and more of that happening in football.
Would you ever go back to the traditional ways and create a hard copy magazine, or are you now digital?
I mean, we've been asked loads of times, especially in Asia, because obviously looking at the demographic of people that follow the magazine and myself, a lot of that is in Asia as well. So when you see that and you go there, we're asked constantly, always, we want a physical. And in Asia, it seems that the people there, they're used to physical, they're used to wanting to touch and feel. But we're a digital magazine, and if we were going to do that, I would have done that here first, because that's where our people are, where we started, the roots, yeah.
And what platform do you use the most? I mean, you've got 7 million Twitter followers, I believe, and probably even more on other platforms. What do you kind of use on a day-to-day basis? Which is your go-to?
I started out, and why? I was always Twitter, because Twitter became it was almost like my news feed as well. Because if I wanted information, I was going there before I was going to a paper. So Twitter, Instagram as well. I think Instagram's great especially because obviously we're kind of evolving into fashion as well. For fashion, and I love Instagram. Pinterest I love as well. And these are visual. You feel there's a bit more of I can see and feel and touch. But Snapchat's making a big play now, and Facebook Live, as you said, Periscope, these are, and for the next stage, and we're working on different strategies going forward now for the fashion brand. I think Periscope, Facebook Live, Instagram, obviously, these are platforms that are essential for any growth that we're trying to have in this field.
Now, since retirement, you've joined BT Sport as one of their football pundits. How's that going? Enjoying it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it, but it would have been a lot easier and better if Man United were winning. Because it's quite difficult having to go on there and talk about ex-teammates and staff members that I...
Do you have to keep very cool, or does your blood rile?
I think if they actually filmed us during the games when Man United were playing, they'll be bestsellers, they'll be hits, because me and Scholesy in the studio go quite crazy. So.
But very different being on that side of the camera in a studio rather than being on the pitch. Are you enjoying it? Yeah,
I mean, when you retire, it's like, what would I be doing anyway? I'd be with my friends around someone's house or in a pub talking about football. So why not do it on screen? I love it. Football's always been my life. So, and I like talking. So it's a match made in heaven.
Good, so, excellent. Good for this session as well.
But I do like it. I've got work with a great team there. The people that you see on the screens, the people behind the cameras, the people in the background, they're all great people that make it easier once I get behind or on the screen behind the table.
And how do you use now, working as a pundit instead of being a footballer, how are you using the content and pushing that out to your social channels? Are you getting videos from BT Sport? How are you using it? And I suppose, how is BT Sport using you as well? Because obviously you're a great brand for them.
I think that was the part of the discussions when we first got around the table to discuss whether I'd be going on BT as a pundit was, for me, hugely about being able to share content and me having access to content, trying to get some exclusivity or a day or two before they could put it out, and vice versa with some of the individual stuff I do. So, for instance, if I'm doing I've done an interview with PK the other day before Barcelona played against Arsenal. We done it together, BT. one section of the interview was BT based, another part of it was for the Number 5 digital magazine. So it's helping each other, and there's different parts and different questions that I use for my magazine and different things that are going to be relevant to BT. But I think for me it was all about sharing. I think BT have got a huge reach, but I was very well aware that also I've got a reach. And I looked at myself once I retired and leading up to retirement that if you can gain a good following on social media, that becomes almost like a media company itself. Yeah. And you can say, you look at yourself and say, there's certain companies that have been going 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and there's individual athletes out there, they've got more social media following, so does that make them more powerful? Does that make them more relevant? Yeah. And these are the questions I was constantly asking myself and trying to work out. And it's again, for the next generation of players, it's such a powerful thing, because when you're going into a negotiation room with a company for an advertising deal, an endorsement deal, if you're going in there with zero social media activity and followings, alongside someone who's probably not as good a player, but he dwarfs that guy, I'm sure nowadays they'll be looking at the guy maybe with less ability but with a bigger following. A lot of the times there'll be the odd case where that changes, but the social media following is going to play a big part in roles and deals going forward.
So what do you think the next big thing is, I suppose, for you in terms of Number 5, and then also in terms of the social space? What are we all going to be doing this time next year?
I don't know.
wearing Number 5 caps.
Yeah, that would be nice. But no, I mean, I think we just got to be open-minded to that there is going to be change. And like I said before, don't think you can get too hitched on one element and one area. You've got to be open for change. I think companies now, to think that we're going to go, just this is the area we're going to go home in on and that's it. I think it will be small-minded and short-sighted to do that, because you've got to appeal to everybody. Not everybody likes Twitter, not everybody likes Facebook. Some people do it all, but a lot of people really go with one area, and you've got to be able to cover all of that.
What's the most popular content that you post? What if you're going to write about something or film something or do something that you just know is going to be really successful? What is it?
I think when you try and cross-pollinate your audiences. For instance, even you look at the YouTube curators now, you got guys in their bedrooms who are posting videos and they're getting like 5, 6, 7 million subs on YouTube. It's just like, my kids are at home just scrolling through looking for these guys. And these guys are becoming more powerful than some athletes.
Did you do an interview with, was it PSI?
KSI, yeah.
KSI, that's it.
See, for instance, one of our magazines, he done the front cover for the magazine. Great traction. Yeah. More traction than some big household names, superstar footballers. I'm not going to name them because it could be quite embarrassing for them. But who would have said that 3 years ago?
Yeah. But do you think we're getting to the point where it's saturated now?
Yeah, but something else will come out.
Yeah.
But and these guys will go there, and the young guys and the young next generation of millennials will follow them there. And it's about us as older people and being a part of that and making sure that we're either at the front of that, or at least we're not too far behind. But yeah, I find it so interesting and seeing these guys, and I love seeing the guys like the KSIs and all of the YouTube curators from different fields really captivating an audience and keeping them there. And we have to learn off them as well, because they're at the forefront of it.
Absolutely. Rio, thank you so much. Before we go though, we've got about 5 minutes of Q&A. So I'm sure there'll be a few questions. Ideally, we stick to the topics that we have been discussing. The gentleman here at the front with his hand up.
Hey, Rio. I saw that you was at the Upscale Tech City event a little while ago, and you're obviously buzzing off of tech, and that comes across. What is it something you think you'll invest in? Is it something you're looking for opportunities? I know you did the record label and film and stuff like that. Are you kind of excited enough to get sort of personally involved in anything?
Yeah, investing is something that I'm in the process of doing now, and I'm on a learning curve. Obviously, I've been retired almost a year now, and it's been a good learning curve. I've met some really interesting people. I went to the Web Summit in Dublin. I've been there twice now, met some really cool people, and I've been fortunate enough to attach myself to a couple of people who are very experienced in the tech and digital space. So to have them as people that I can call up and speak to and spend time with and be influenced by has been vital for me. I wasn't going to jump 2-footed straight in early in any way, shape or form, but to have the experience of these people, the likes of Saul Klein from Index Ventures and Local Globe now, that I've really got a good relationship with, and people that I can really rely on to give me some real honest feedback on certain situations that I'm trying to bring out, or investors that come to, different startup companies that come to me and propose something. I've got people that I can say, what do you think? And I think that's vital and important for me coming into this area.
You'd be a great mentor, right? That'd be interesting. Forget the financial bit, I think it's kind of, there's an attitude right away in mind.
Yeah, I mean,
As a competitor.
yeah, and as I said, that's an area that at the moment where I feel most comfortable, where as being a mentor, being involved in some capacity as a soundboard, etc. for other companies, and that's what I've done up to now, 3 of them. So I'm involved with. So I'm really enjoying that.
You talked a bit about Asia, and I wanted to ask a question along those lines. I remember United were always good at going out there and doing pre-season tour. In the last year, we've seen big players or medium to big players going out to Chinese Premier League teams. What do you think about the power that China will have in football in the next 5 to 10 years, and will we see even bigger players go out there?
Yeah, I mean, we used to go there with Man United. I probably went there about 5 or 6 times with Man United, and I quickly understood that that's a market that was definitely coming. I've been on personal tours to China and to different parts of Asia. Even having a Weibo account out there is important, and I think it's definitely an area of huge interest. There's a lot of money being invested now in sport in China. I saw the president made a big pledge for the next minimum 5 years, and so that we've seen big players coming from me. I mean, me personally as a player, if someone came from a country where I didn't see gains in terms of silverware that meant something, like Spain, Germany, Italy, maybe Italy and England, I wouldn't have been interested. No matter what they paid, I wouldn't have gone, unless I was obviously over the hill and surplus requirements here. But everyone's different. But I think in China it's very interesting. I think that they're trying to build a league out there, and with that type of money there's going to be players that heads turned. And to see a country so kind of new in this sport, in football, to be able to come and cherry pick and pluck some big players it makes you think, well, where could we be in the next 2 or 3 years? Because if they keep getting them type of big players, taking them from our big teams, how are our teams going to end up looking in theirs? And if the shift went like that, I'll be gutted if I'm honest. Because the European football model, I love it, but you've got to respect that China have got a desire to do that, and it's interesting to see where that's going to end up.
One last question. Anyone on that side of the room? Because we've done 2 over there. Yeah, that gentleman.
Rio, what was the conversation like with Sir Alex when you told him that you were on this Twitter thing?
Say again, sorry?
What was the conversation you had with Sir Alex when you told him that you were on this Twitter maybe 5, 6 years ago?
I can't tell you the proper story, I can't use the exact terminology that he used for it, but no, it was Twitter, and I opened a restaurant called Rosso in Manchester, and I remember he pulled me in, and he obviously found out. He said, "What the are you doing? What's going on? You're a footballer, interviewing all these people, P Diddy, etc. 50 Cent. What the hell's going on?" And I understood his point of view, because obviously he's invested a lot of money in me as a player, time as a coach, and he wanted the best for his football club. But my immediate answer was, this isn't for now, this is for when I'm retired. I want something to be able to go into. I want to, like I said at the beginning, I wanted avenues to be able to walk into once I finished football, and this was one part of it. Are Man United going to be there? Are you going to be there? Is Mr. Gill going to be there to hold my hand when I retire and help me into a new job, a new area? Are you going to do that? Is that part of what you do? No, it ain't. So I'm going to continue to do what I do. But I've done that with the knowledge, like I said earlier, that I knew that I was playing good football. I knew consistently that we were winning trophies, and I was an integral member of that team, so I could do that with confidence. If I had gone in there as a 19, 20-year-old, or a player at 28, 29, or even playing not so well on the edge of the squad, etc., not producing the goods, I would have gone in there from a position of weakness, definitely.
Thank you. I think that draws us to a close on that note. Rio, it's been a real pleasure. Will you promise to come back next year if we all wear 5 caps?
Yeah, I'll come back
Okay,
anyway.
great. Deal. Guys, don't
Thank
forget.
you.